Good evening, everyone, and thank you for watching the Barre Beat podcast live here in the 802 Inside Scoop Studios, streaming live to 802 Scoop. And tonight we're super excited. Of course, you got me, Michael Booten, and we have with us the one, the only Thom Lauzon. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Hey, not a problem. I'm super excited to have you on.
Well, you got elected as representative, and thank you for your service. You did a great job. And then I got tossed to the side, and I didn't get invited anymore. So
I know.
What's up with that?
This is what happens. I'm not very nice. I just forget.
You're
Thom.
fantastic, Michael, and truly, thank you for the job that you and Representative Wassezak did in the legislature this year. I can't remember the last time Barre City had two freshman representatives, and you both did a phenomenal job, so thank you. Barre City had a great legislative session.
I can tell you personally, I want to just say thank you for being Barre City's mayor, because let me tell you, you've done a phenomenal job. So thank you so very much.
Okay, now that the mutual admiration is over, let's get on with it. we've got important stuff to talk about in the future.
We do. But it is 100% true. There's been so much that has been done since you've become mayor, right? We're moving, and we're going to be talking about some of those things tonight.
Listen, we've got a great team.
Yeah.
I really enjoy working with Nicholas. Everyone else calls him Nick. I know that he doesn't like that, so I call him Nicholas. But no, we've got a great relationship, an open, honest relationship, and he has done, and his team, they've done a great job.
This is true. City staff is amazing. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely. But again, if you don't have a good person steering the boat, I'm just saying. So let's just talk about some of those things that have been going on, right?
Sure.
One of the things that Barre City has is it doesn't have like a big excitement. It didn't have, let me rephrase that. It didn't have like this big excitement stuff going on. But now we've got like 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 development projects in Barre City, which is freaking phenomenal. Money's coming in from the Northern Borders,
Northern Borders Regional Commission.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's start off there first, right? Let's talk about Prospect Heights.
I think as we all know, if you live here, it's been quite a while since we had a major housing development in the city. So Prospect Heights was something that, going back, Barre Area Development Corporation, M.A. Green, something that they proposed. It was a dormant, essentially been started by the Fecto family. And it was a dormant housing development up off, appropriately, Prospect Street, Prospect Heights. And so we picked that up and we've run with it. We're looking to support, given the governor's recent executive order, ching, we'll be looking to develop approximately 120 units of housing in that area. It checks all the boxes, Michael. I mean, it's out of the floodplain. It's a great neighborhood. So, we're excited. We applied for, Barre Area Development Corporation applied for and received money, $2.9 million, I'm rounding up, from the Northern Borders Regional Commission. We're looking to the DR funds, the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds, for the additional $5.4 million. I feel really good about the application that we submitted. Josh Jerome did a really great job along with others on that application. And I feel good about our chances for being awarded that money. So we feel good about that particular project.
How long do you think this is before we start seeing like shovels in the ground for that?
Boy, if we're awarded this money, 2026.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
we
quick.
will permit quickly. I think that project will be exempt from Act 250 under the current rules. So we'll just have to look to local approval. And, our DRB, they'll do their job. But again, I think we can check all the boxes, and I think we can get that project moving in 2026. And we'll be building homes there in 2027.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
quickly.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Seth Fewer, he's the kid that's trying to start a Turning Point.
I met him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, we're so thankful to have Thom.
Well, I'm thankful to have young people like Seth who want to be involved and want to be part of the conversation. So it's important.
So regarding Prospect Heights, one of the everybody talks about affordable housing, right? And where people's minds go with that isn't quite matching up with what is actually happening up there. Can you explain what affordable housing means in the context of Prospect Heights?
Well, in the context of Prospect Heights, first of all, right now, there is no affordable housing. I mean, holy cow, look at the cost of building. Look at the cost of renting. Look at the cost of home ownership. I don't know. It is a real challenge. I have this conversation with the administration constantly. You and I talked about it. Talked about, is there a way we can front load property taxes so we can provide grants to homeowners? So, affordable housing is a term that is really tough to pin down because it depends who you're talking to. What some folks think when we talk about affordable housing, they think, okay, subsidized housing, low-income housing, voucher housing. No, it's not necessarily those things. When you look at certain programs, like Prospect Heights, for example, there will be, I hope, there will be subsidized housing at Prospect Heights. Because, Michael, we live in a city where roughly 25% of our citizens live at or below the poverty level. They need subsidized housing to exist. So I've always said that if we're building a major housing development in the city, 100 units, 25% of those units should be subsidized. It should match your municipality, or otherwise you could be gentrifying, unintentionally gentrifying your city, and that's not what we want to do. But in Prospect Heights, for example, a single-family home with a family of two, husband and wife, they can earn up to $100,000 a year and still be able to build a home at Prospect Heights. So again, when you talk about affordable, it depends on who you're talking about. It's not necessarily, and quite frankly, it's our hope that there will be folks living in Prospect Heights who, the majority of them, will receive no subsidy at all. They'll just be market rate. But even market rate sometimes is a bit unaffordable.
It is unaffordable. Definitely. I mean, in general, I mean, housing, I think, what's the square footage, or how much is it per square foot?
For which project? I mean,
good point.
There's a lot of them. I mean, the average building cost right now is crazy, Michael. It's anywhere from $350 to $450 a square foot. If you want to build a modest 1,500 square foot home, it's not huge. A 3-bedroom cape, like we see everywhere in the city, $450,000 to build that home today.
It's insane.
That is not affordable.
No, absolutely not. The concern that a lot of people have, which is not the case, is that the Prospect Heights is going to be another Barre Housing Authority type of project.
Not true.
And that's what a lot of people think.
Not true. I mean, we have got on that particular board, I chair that board, which has existed prior to me being elected mayor, and I've been chairing that board prior to being elected mayor. I mean, we have a lot of partners. The town of Barre sits at the table. Downstreet sits at the table. Central Vermont Hospital sits at the table. The reason Central Vermont Hospital sits at the table, they have 200 vacancies right up the road in Berlin, positions that they can't fill. And time again, they have professionals who are considering those positions, but the professionals say, we can't find a place to live. We're coming here from out of state, and we can't find a place to live. So, the hospital is sitting at the table because they understand how critical workforce housing is to not only the health of Central Vermont, but the health of Vermont. So, Michael, it's my hope that there will be people who require subsidized housing living alongside medical professionals, just like our city. Some of our neighbors, some of the people who are most active in our community require some sort of assistance.
Yep.
And we gladly give it because they give back.
Yep, absolutely. Barb says that housing wouldn't cost so much if we had laws in place to help protect some of our landlords. And if the state did not want to take care of everyone, we wouldn't be taxed to death to the point where we cannot afford a home.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
Recently I was interviewed on that very subject, and I think right now we don't necessarily protect our landlords who are engaged in best practices as well as we could, or as well as we should. We make it, the eviction process is lengthy, and those who will tell you it's not are not being honest with you, Michael. They're just not. And I think they're, like I explained, there are bad landlords, there are bad tenants. And we need to protect those who are engaged in best practices. So I absolutely agree. I mean, the laws need to be changed. I think the pendulum has swung, during COVID and post-COVID. The pendulum has swung a little bit too far, and we need to bring that back.
I do know that I was actually here, the Landlords Association was meeting here, and I was down here for that meeting last Monday, I think it was.
Yep.
And that was the theme, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it is hard to get people out of a house when they're trashing your house. Mm-hmm. And there was a conversation about how somebody just paid someone to leave. Mm-hmm. And because it's cheaper to pay them like $3,000 than to go through the court process.
Yes.
And that is really not helpful. Because if you are uncomfortable renting, you will pull your housing. You won't rent to people.
Right.
And next thing you know, we have a crunch of apartments.
Right.
And that's not helpful at all, and
No.
puts people out on the street. It's really unfortunate. I actually looked at the laws that because there's been some bills submitted regarding landlords, and I want to take a guess on which way they go? They go even more towards making it difficult for landlords. It's pushing them out of the business, and there's consequences to that, and hopefully we can stem the tide on that, because you're right.
We need to do a better job.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. We need to do a better job. If someone isn't paying their rent, if they're being a bad neighbor, and we always talk about the effect on the landlord. Mm-hmm. What about the effect on the neighbor? Mm-hmm. How would you like to live with someone who's dealing drugs, destroying an apartment, not being a very good neighbor? How would you like to be their next door neighbor? The effect is not just on the landlord. There's an effect on the services that we provide as a city, our emergency services personnel, police department, constant calls. Everything has a cost. And look, if you're not being a good neighbor, if you're not paying your rent, it's time to go. Yeah. And a landlord shouldn't have to wait 6 months and incur tens of thousands of dollars in damage to an apartment. They shouldn't have to wait 6 months and incur that much damage to get you out.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've even looked at landlords and said, well, what if an eviction costs you more? What if we had a special court similar to different issue, but similar to what the governor is implementing in Burlington? What if we had night court? What if we had a special court? These are not complicated issues. These are not, are you paying rent or are you not? Is the landlord compliant or is he or she not? It's not complicated. So what if we had a special night court, and what if you, as a landlord, in order to take advantage of that streamlined process, had to pay $500 in court costs as opposed to the normal 125? Would you do it? Unanimously, every landlord, yes, I would do it. So solutions are out there, Michael. We just have to kind of step outside of our little box that we've built, and there's a solution for every problem, and we can do this.
You're going to have to give me a call after this, and we'll have to game plan this out, because maybe it's a bill that I can submit. I have no problem submitting the bills.
Look, and it's got to be reasonable, but how complicated is it? Michael, go check into a Marriott and check in for the weekend, and on Sunday, when they say at 2 o'clock, when they call you up and say, Representative Booten, your checkout time was noon, it's 2 o'clock, will you be checking out soon? And you say, no, I think I'm going to stay. And they say, well, I'm sorry, sir, but your stay was only through Sunday. Well, I think I'm going to stay. Well, you'll have to come and update your credit card. No, I don't think I want to. How long do you think it will take before a police officer comes and escorts you out of that room?
Immediately.
Yeah, not very long at all.
These aren't complicated issues. The bar, like I said in the interview, Michael, the bar isn't high. Treat your landlord, treat your tenant. I don't have sympathy for bad landlords. We have them in the city. And, when they call and say, Nick Comping is being a little hard on me, well, what's the issue? And they tell me, and I say, that's a life safety issue. That is Nick's job. Sorry, call the next guy. The bar isn't high, Michael. Treat your landlord, treat your tenant the way you would a family member, the way you would a neighbor. And, and if you can't do that, maybe it's time to move on both sides. If you can't maintain your property to the minimal standard as a landlord, maybe you picked the wrong business. And if you can't pay your rent as a tenant, and if you're disruptive to your neighbors, maybe it's time for you to find a new city or town.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
That's pretty simple. I like it. We'll have to circle back. We'll
definitely
have to talk
can.
about this.
Sure.
So let's talk about the big item, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're November 4th, next Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yes, next Tuesday is the date that we're going to be able to go to the polls and make a decision. Well, there's actually three different options, the three different decisions that we're going to make. You got the Career Center, and then we've got the TIF bond vote.
Yep, Article 1,
and then we've got the public works building bond vote.
Article 2.
Article 2.
So I'm hoping people vote yes on both Barre City Article 1 and Article 2.
So Article 1, it's the TIF bond vote.
Correct.
And I love talking about TIF, and I get totally nerdy about it, and it's just it's such an awesome program for municipalities such as ours. We're a postage stamp, and we're tapping in to statewide funds.
Correct.
And at a premium discount.
Well, in essence, what a TIF allows you to do is leverage future measurable grand list growth today. So you can leverage that money, those future funds today, to complete projects that support development. In the city of Barre, Michael, it's worked.
Yeah.
And anyone, you get these folks who post on Front Porch Forum who, I don't know if they're sober when they do it or not. I read the post, I'm like, what is ruthication? And look, I push back because, and I'll tell you, Michael, anytime, anywhere, name the time, name the place, and I will debate anyone on the benefits of our TIF district. Name the place, I'll be there, and I'll make you look like a moron. I get worked up. Sorry.
No, listen, I
Look,
get
City
it.
Place. So back in 2009, you remember this well.
I
You were part of
remember.
it, part of the decision process. We purchased the parcels. It was Brooks Drugs, and there were some apartment buildings that definitely were not up to code. And we purchased that property through the Neighborhood Stabilization Program that's, long gone. But we purchased the parcels, we offered them to developers, and we set our sights on a TIF district. Back in 2012, and a TIF district is not something that, you don't fill out an application on the back of a cereal box and get it. You have to make your case to the legislature. You have to make your case to VEPC. We did it successfully. There are only 11 TIF districts in Vermont. We are one of them. So back in 2012, we had the good sense to form a TIF district. After we formed the TIF district, our first project was Barre City Place. Now, back in 2009, the city was collecting about $20,000 total on the parcels that make up Barre City Place. Today, so flash forward, 2012, we passed the TIF district. Today, we're collecting over $350,000 in tax revenue. Some of those taxes go back to, obviously, the education fund. It has increased. Some of those taxes go back to the city, a 500% increase over 2009 levels. And some of the funds go to pay for the infrastructure upgrades that were necessary to support City Place. Now, in another, 2012, 25, 2 extensions, thank you, Michael. So roughly 14 years from now, when our TIF district expires, that money, half the money roughly will go to the municipality, the increased property tax revenue, half will go to the education fund. I mean, Michael, this has been a success story. Anytime anyone wants to point at it and say, well, it's costing the city taxpayers money, no, it's not. It's not hitting its numbers. No, actually, it is. Like I said, I mean, it's one of those things. The hardest part, when I have to explain how our TIF district functions, how it works, the hardest part is that I really feel like a politician when I'm doing it, because it even to me, it sounds too good to be true. It works. It is arguably, and again, I'll debate it with anyone, anytime, anywhere, it is arguably the most powerful economic development tool that the city of Barre has ever implemented.
Oh, yeah.
I am proud to be the mayor who pushed it forward, and I'm proud to be the mayor who maintains it.
Yep, absolutely. And like you said, it's an economic development tool. And looking
Look,
at
Burlington
that,
has two. Do you like the waterfront in Burlington? $76 million in improvements paid for by TIF.
yeah,
Burlington, God bless them, Burlington was a master at wringing every dollar they could out of their TIF district. It took the city of Barre a little while to catch up, and now we're wringing some money out of it too.
yeah, and that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
And if we don't use it, if we don't vote to support this one, we're going to lose that opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Article 1 is really about, and remember, Article 1 is not a stamp of approval on the entire concept. It is really a stamp of approval on 31 units of affordable housing that are being developed on Seminary Street. The city of Barre will make approximately $2 million in improvements. We'll bury utility lines. We've got to redo sidewalks. The city of Barre, will get a new parking lot, the Campbell Place parking lot. We'll get a new parking lot out of the deal. These are all public infrastructure improvements: stormwater, wastewater, water lines, sidewalks, paving. But those improvements will support those 31 units of housing. I've heard people say, well, the only people who make out on a TIF district on that particular vote, Article 1, are real estate moguls. Are you really going to look at down street housing and community development? Google it. Google real estate mogul, please. Anyone who's watching out there right now, Google real estate mogul. When you read the definition that pops up on Google, tell me if that's what you think down street community and housing development is. Doesn't fit the bill. You know, I don't even understand the objection. The folks who write in and object, I don't even understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. It makes no sense. It's such a, it doesn't. Well,
look, this is a good thing for Barre.
Yeah,
it is 31 units of affordable housing.
And
some of those units, just to be clear, some of those units, I think the majority of those units will be subsidized. But it's housing, Michael.
It's no different than Summer Street, correct?
Not at all.
So it's no Summer Street. I will say, and I've said this multiple times, Down Street is really good at being a landlord. They do a phenomenal job.
Angie Harbin and her team, Eileen Pelletier, prior to Angie, they have always been an honest and hardworking partner for the city of Barre. Always.
Yep.
Just the way it is.
They do a great job. I mean, I could get into my tax issues that I constantly complain about, but as landlords,
well, Michael,
they do
on that
a great
particular
job.
parcel, what are we collecting today in property taxes? Bupkis.
Nothing.
Zero.
Yep.
So listen, even though, look, you and I are kind of aligned on this. I think that when you look at the formula for what subsidized, in terms of what subsidized housing pays in property taxes, you and I both believe the formula could be a little more generous towards the municipality. We're a bit at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, pretty low bar, Michael. We're
it's
collecting zero.
Yeah.
And I believe the projected, last time I checked with Nicholas, the projected property tax revenue will be around 100,000.
Wow.
That's a long way from zero.
Yep.
So, look, affordable housing wins, the city of Barre wins,
Yep.
our taxpayer wins. I mean,
So
everybody's winning on Article 1. So vote yes.
vote yes. I agree. I super supportive of it, and it's going to be a good thing for Barre. It's going to be a
great
building.
thing for
It's
Barre.
going to be a beautiful building. I should pull it up and show people, but
Yeah. Well, I hope you do. If you can work it in there somehow.
I could do.
No, it really is an attractive building. They did a great job with the design.
I can pull it up real quick, and I will share it so that folks can see it, because I do have it here.
How'd you get it so fast?
I just typed in Down Street
Oh,
Stevens
okay.
Branch.
Okay.
And the TIF isn't going to pay for the building. It's
No.
going to pay for
No, not one dime
infrastructure,
is,
stuff that the city
again,
has.
these are infrastructure improvements. For example, Michael, what do you think the city, so let's talk about water and sewer fees. What do you think the city of Barre collects on water and sewer? Now, there is no discount there. What do you think the city of Barre collects on water and sewer fees on the Seminary Street parking lot? Bupkis.
Zero.
Okay.
In fact, it's
So,
costing more
Yeah,
money.
so we're making infrastructure improvements for one of our customers, paid for by TIF, not by local taxpayers, and we're going to get a return on that investment. Everyone wins.
Yeah. No, I'm there.
Yeah.
Vote yes for Article 1.
Yeah, it's like I said. Anyone who wants to, and if they just have questions, please get a hold of me. I love the questions when people are sincere. They don't have an axe to grind. They just really want to understand how does this work. And I love talking about TIF and explaining to them, well, this is how it works. And universally, when it's someone who really wants to learn and has a sincere question, they look at me at the end of the conversation and say, well, why would anyone not vote for this? I don't know. I don't know. So
I do got a question here that you can answer. that most people wouldn't be able to answer. Someone's asking, Christian Triana is asking, is the old Salvation Army building getting demolished? The question, though, is, are we talking about the one on the north end or the one that you just purchased? So let's
the one where, well, the
let's
one
talk
where,
about
the
the one
one
that you just
Karen and I
purchased.
and Trim Schweenard and his wife Lauren are renovating. That's the one just down from the Cornerstone. I don't know that people really think of that as a Salvation Army building. They bought it, but it was really like a big dud. You know, they bought
Yeah.
it, they were going to put a couple $1 million into it, and then the project got too expensive, and they just decided that they would focus elsewhere. So that one, no, that's going to be, if you're talking about the one just down the street from the Cornerstone, which interestingly is the oldest standing building in our downtown. That was the original town hall, and it's going to be town hall apartments. There are going to be 8 units of housing and 1 commercial unit there. I digress, so we don't need to talk about that. The other one, maybe the one that your listener is thinking about, is the one down by the public safety building.
Yep.
Yes, that's going down.
Yeah, and that's not.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. For those that remember, it used to be the old M&M beverage.
Oh, no,
Do
it
you
used to
remember?
be the old Dairy Queen. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
When I was a kid and we used to play football and swim in the North End, back when there was a pool where the public safety building
Yep,
was.
I remember the pool.
It was the Dairy Queen.
I do not remember the Dairy
Oh,
Queen.
it was the Dairy Queen, and yes, I do remember. And I also remember M&M beverage. But no, I mean, that building, privately owned, substantially damaged in the flooding. There has been no remediation. That building needs to come down.
Yeah.
Many of those buildings in the North End, part of the application that we recently submitted to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG-DR, sorry to but throw that at you, but that's what it is, Community Development Block Grant dash disaster recovery. We submitted a grant to take away many of the buildings that currently line Route 302 along the North End, turn that into green space, basically turn it into a bit of a floodway, but a very attractive floodway, and then develop housing in the North End on specific sites.
Yeah.
So that building, it is my hope, thank you for that question, it's a great question. It is my hope that that building will be coming down sooner rather than later.
Nice. Yeah.
And several others that need to come down.
Yeah.
They're damaged beyond repair, Michael. I mean, Karen and I have spent a lifetime restoring buildings here in this city. Nobody loves restoring a building more than we do, but there's some that are just, they're just beyond repair. There's just no saving them.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait to see what happens there, which will
Coming
be,
down.
Well, besides coming down, it'll be interesting to see what happens
We
there.
got a lot of work to do.
And that gets to the other project that's in that area, which is to take out the old Wabi Park. Is that still on the docket to move the Wabi
Well,
Park?
actually, we have swapped it out. We looked hard at developing a substantial residential building in the North End. And, the more we looked at sites and what would be appropriate, and the more we talked to the neighborhood. And the neighborhood was not a huge fan. They said, look, we really want to retain our neighborhood feel. We wouldn't mind if you built some fourplexes or some duplexes or some single-family homes, but we really like our North End neighborhood. And what the neighborhood, when we met with the folks in the North End and we offered them the opportunity to weigh in, universally, they said, we want to retain the feel of the North End. We want to retain our North End neighborhood. So we've refocused our efforts, and we are promoting a project that would result in around 60 units of housing on part of what a lot of folks call the Lenny's Plaza. That's currently owned by the Davis family right down the street here. So that was also one of our CDBG-DR applications. That was a $10 million ask.
Yeah, that'll be
Phenomenal.
quite nice.
Phenomenal, yeah.
It'll be nice to see some of
Look,
those.
Michael, the state I know a lot of people want to see us do flood mitigation. They're like, dredge the river, dredge the whole river, dredge it 20 feet deep. When the state announced these disaster recovery grants, about 75%, it might not be that high, it might be closer to 70% of the grants focused on housing. So if you look at the amount of money available for flood mitigation, things like dredging, believe me, we are focused on that, but we've sort of modeled our applications around the state model. So if you look at the applications that the city submitted, most of our applications, about 70%, are focused on housing because that's what the state told us to do. So why in the world, as a municipality, when you're applying for this money, if the state is saying, we want you to focus on housing, why would we submit applications that are focused on mitigation? It would be a suicide mission. So, that's what we did. And I think we Nicholas, his team, the city council, I think we made the right call.
Yeah. So,
what else you got?
We can talk about, we can go on to Article 2 now.
Sure.
Because we did hit the housing, and so let's
Should we do the whole transparency thing before we get into Article 2?
Oh my goodness.
Well, no, I mean,
I get it.
Look,
no, I get
that
it.
Was our building. That was me and Karen and mine. We were approached by the city about a year ago. We were approached by Nicholas and Brian Baker, and they said, we are looking for a new public works garage. I mean, the story when Bill Ahern in 2022,
oh, yeah.
Bill Ahern walks into the city council meeting, and Bill did exactly what we asked him to do. He presents a conceptual plan for a brand new building at a cost of $30 million.
Yeah, we can't afford that.
And we're like, no, and we couldn't
There's
afford
no way.
that. We can't afford that. $30 million. And that was in 2022. We admittedly kicked the can down the road. We just said, we can't afford $30 million, out of the question, come up with something else. Before Bill could come up with something else, of course, Bill left the office, Brian stepped in, and before the city could come up with something else, July of 2023, the garage floods and gets wiped out even worse than it was before. So it was sometime after that, I think it was maybe early 2024, I'm approached by Nicholas and Brian Baker, and they said, look, Thom, we've been looking at existing sites, and we've been expanding our search to areas even outside the city, if it could be cost effective. What are you doing with this building up on Morrison Road? You own it. It's 55,000 square feet. It's on 6 acres of land. It's literally, it would need some retrofit, but it is literally exactly what we're looking for. And I looked at them and said, look somewhere else. I don't want to talk to you. And I made them go away. And they came back 3 or 4 months later and they said, Thom, it's our only choice. If the city wants it done for under $10 million, and this is only, total project cost is around 6.3, they said, this is our only choice. And I knew what was coming, Look, there are some people in town, we bought the building in 2021. We paid the Bond family $2.7 million for it. We never negotiated the price. I mean, I know what the building is worth. The building's worth between 3.9 and 4.2 million. So what I told Nicholas is I want to think about it. I've got to talk to Karen about it. But if we decide to sell it, the price is going to be $3 million, and I'm not negotiating that price. So, yeah, we made a little bit of money on it. The city saved, if you look at appraised values, the city's appraisal came in at 3.9. My appraisal came in at 4.2. What does it matter? The price is $3 million. Either way, $57 a square foot. It was a fair price for the city.
Yeah.
So, but look, Michael, there are some people who will never accept. If I am on the other end of the transaction, there are some people who will never accept it. You know, they don't like me. They, so, you know, but I feel very good about what I've done for the city. You know, I want to give back. There are a few other substantial donations that will be occurring over the next couple of years relative to Karen and I giving things back to the city. So I'll just send that little teaser out to you. You know, this is my home, and this is where I was raised. It's an honor to be mayor, and Karen and I have done okay. So believe me, I'm not missing any meals, you know, and I'm happy to give back. So that was a deal I made with the city. We looked at retrofitting that building, so Article 2 is an additional $3.3 million bond. The city internally financed $3 million purchase price, so that's done. You know, we closed on the building earlier this year. I negotiated a lease for the city. The city will collect about $300,000 in rental payments through March 30th of 2026. But it's going to take about $3.3 million to convert that building from a warehouse to a functioning public works facility. Now, when you get all done, the city's per square foot cost is going to be about $120 a square foot. If you look at Berlin, Berlin is planning for a new public works garage. They're going to pay over $500 a square foot, 5 times the cost. If you, I mean, literally the same price for a building that is a fifth the size. If you look at East Montpelier has passed their bond, they're building. Their cost is going to be over $500 a square foot. Milton, there's not, you know, there's just not a lot of public works garages in the state of Vermont. Milton finished theirs. They started theirs in 2022. Their final cost is going to be $216 a square foot. We're 120.
Pretty good.
You know, I mean, I call it a Barre solution. We're cheap. We always figure out a way to do things less expensively.
That's true.
And you know, so again, my involvement aside, if I wasn't involved, I would be advocating for approval just as hard as, because, Michael, that building is shot.
Yeah.
It's too small. We have millions of dollars worth of equipment that we leave outdoors because it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people buy a lawnmower and you buy a garden shed to put it in.
Yep.
And we're leaving, you know, it's a problem that has existed since 2000. It's way before 2006 when I was first elected mayor. So, you know, hopefully, I'm really proud of Nicholas and Brian and the team that came up with a really cost-effective solution. And interestingly, we're actually talking, you know, in a recent meeting with Secretary Flynn from VTrans. We had a conversation with VTrans about actually leasing some of the space at that garage because it's a little too big for what the city really needs. We'll grow into it, but I think there are going to be real opportunities to partner with either the state, other communities, and you know, and gain some revenue there. So it's just a great project, and I'm hopeful people support Article 2. Look, there is no Plan B. So one way or another, that is going to be the Public Works Garage. The only question is it going to be the Public Works Garage with the amenities that we really need, salt storage, etc., or is it going to be an inadequate facility? So hopefully people will support Article 2.
And Kathy Chartier says, thank you, Thom. I've always appreciated your generosity to Barre. And
Aww.
Barb says, I think it's fine that you're making money off a place that you sell. If you didn't, you wouldn't be a good businessman. And I think that's what it makes you a good mayor, is that you are a good businessman.
Oh, well, thank you, Kathy. That's
and then a bunch
very
of people
gracious and generous of you. I appreciate you too, and I appreciate comments like yours.
She's amazing. They're all everybody's making wonderful comments.
Now, do you want to know? Honestly, a very good friend of mine who's a realtor, who you know really well, told me I was stupid, and he looked at me and he said, "I could have sold that building in a week for $4 million."
had a current tenant. It's got a current tenant in it.
What's
I
that?
mean, you were making money off from it because it
Well,
was
I didn't.
being.
I didn't lose money. I
No,
mean,
I know, but you were
there
making
doesn't have to
money.
be a look. Everybody won.
Right.
Okay, Karen won.
Well,
I'm
O'Reilly's
that much
didn't.
closer to retirement, divesting of a building. So Karen won. The city won. I mean, everybody wins.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Well, not O'Reilly's. They're getting the boot.
O'Reilly's. Well, they're exiting. They're going up to Berlin, and they're going to occupy where Staples was originally up by the Comfort Inn. So they're winning too. I mean,
Okay,
they're
okay,
You know,
okay,
nobody
okay.
gave them the boot. We did. I mean, honestly, we did push them pretty hard. They needed a couple of lease extensions. They were paying when I owned the building. They were paying $20,000 a square foot. After I agreed to sell it to the city, O'Reilly came to me and said, "Can we get a 6-month extension on our lease because we really need it?" And I said, "Boy, that's going to be a problem because the city's not going to be happy about this." Of course, it worked out great for the city. And I said, "But the price is going to have to go up to 25 grand." And they're like, "Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We'll pay it." So Nicholas is like, "Go, Tom. Go, Tom." No, honest to God. And then O'Reilly comes back and says, "We need another 3 months beyond the 6 months," which worked great for the city because we wouldn't, God, O'Reilly's probably going to hate me after this, because we couldn't have started construction in December of this year anyway. We would have, we couldn't start construction until March. So O'Reilly says, we really need another 3-month extension. Would that be a problem? And I'm like, they're going to be upset. You're really putting me in a bad position. But I'll tell you what, if we can increase the lease rate from $25,000 to $30,000 a month, I think I can get it through. So, like I said, Nicholas is loving it.
You know what? Barb said,
Look,
businessman.
Michael,
We need a
O'Reilly's is a
businessman.
big company. It's not going to hurt them, and the extra money means a lot more to the city of Barre. I mean, look,
Yeah.
we could buy a plow truck with that.
Yeah.
So, Michael, everybody won.
Absolutely.
Everybody won. And if voters support the bond a week from tomorrow, Article 2, then everybody is really going to win. And most importantly, our public works guys, take a walk over there, and take a look at that facility. It's a joke.
Yeah.
It really is. And admittedly, we've been trying to solve that problem for decades. I mean, since before I was mayor. But when you look at a price tag of $30 million, well, we can't afford that. We can afford 6.6.
Yep.
So
Good
someone
thing,
said,
vote.
"Well, what happens if the article doesn't pass? I buy the building back, and then sell it for $4 million."
Vote yes on Article 1 and 2.
Keep Tom from making even more money, that bastard.
All right, so we are coming up to 8 o'clock, and figure we should probably talk about one last thing, since we did kind of talk about it
Yep.
beforehand. So I will point to Liam,
Oh,
because this is his, he's all on top of this.
the forte,
The forte, yes, this is his forte. So how many days are we in now?
27.
27 days.
The longest one's 35.
And we're going to hit that. I'm sure we're going to hit that. So,
The shutdown?
yeah.
Yeah, not happy.
Not
No,
happy.
today, look, Michael, I try to have a little bit of fun. We had fun tonight where I could. I am not happy about the prospect of SNAP benefits, 3 squares here in Vermont, expiring on November 1st. Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with either side. Children, families, our seniors, they're not collateral damage,
No.
and they're not a bargaining chip. So, look, we need to get this done. I'm proud of the governor and the E-Board, the members of the legislature, for stepping up. They are going to, Louisiana voted unanimously. They're filling the gap. There's a lawsuit against the federal government. My only question about that lawsuit is can cities and towns, state of Vermont is going to participate in a lawsuit against the federal government. My only question is, can municipalities participate as well, please? It's just not good. It's not a good situation. 63,000 Vermonters depend on 3 squares. Elderly, children, families. So let's do the rough math. I don't have the exact numbers. I'm trying to get them as it relates to Barre City. 650, roughly 1,000 people in the state of Vermont will make the math easy. 63,000 Vermonters affected. That's roughly 10% of our population. 8,500 people here in the city of Barre. So, do the math. Roughly, and I would suspect, I don't know, Liam, how you think about it, but I would suspect we might be a little higher than that 10%. Yeah. We could be 12, we could be 15, just because of where we sit in terms of our population. So that means that roughly that means that roughly 1 in 10. If you saw 10 people today, chances are that one of them is somehow affected, and one of them will not have money for food on November 1st. So when some of our children go trick-or-treating, that candy they collect better last, because on November 1st, there's not going to be food on their table. Yeah. That, to me, is unconscionable. And I get a little worked up over this, and so in transparency, my daughter works for No Kid Hungry. She is the National Benefits Coordinator for the SNAP program. So to see her so upset and telling me, Daddy, this is how many people nationwide this is affecting, and to see so many Vermonters affected and so many of our neighbors here in Barre affected, it's upsetting on both sides. Yeah. And I'm not blaming Republicans, I'm not blaming Democrats, I'm blaming both of them, all of them. They're not doing their job. You want my solution? I'm going to get skewered for this. Kick the can down the road. Let America decide. Let's make it a campaign issue. You don't like health benefits? Okay, Republicans, you don't like health benefits. Democrats, you love health benefits? Fine. Let's kick this can down the road. Let's reopen the government. Kick the can down the road for 1 year. And let's make it a campaign issue and let America decide. And if your candidate says, I don't want to extend health benefits, and this candidate says, I do want to extend health benefits, as a voter, you'll have a choice. And the American voter will decide. Not a few hundred people in Congress who look at our citizens as collateral damage. Yeah. No, I really get worked up, don't I?
No, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
It's one thing when I get, and it's also affecting the block grants, right? Mm-hmm. And it's one thing that's getting slowed down. Is it frustrating? Yeah, it's frustrating. It has a negative impact on Barre with the community block grants. But the SNAP program, that's individuals and being able to feed children and seniors, and it's not okay. That's not okay.
How long, theoretically, could the state of Vermont fund the program?
Boy, that's a really good question. So it's going to cost us, we have $110 million of emergency funds that the legislature set aside for this very reason, anticipating it. The program will cost, I believe, $12 million monthly, but but you can't just say, 3 squares, because there are other effects of the government shutdown. So right. That $110 million, and I don't have all of the math. Right now I'm focused on 3 squares. I know that math, but I can't tell you, like community development block programs, LIHEAP program. I can't tell you the impact on all those other programs. Right. I can't even come close to telling you that. But I think, as I look at government, Michael, to me, governing has always been about prioritizing and compromising. Not everybody gets a trophy. You don't always win. Sometimes you have to, and you don't have to bend your principles, but sometimes you have to bend your convictions and you have to bend your priorities. And I just see that as being so lost in Washington. They don't know how to compromise. And, this whole, on both sides, Michael, this whole scorched earth, win at all costs mentality is not working for America. Something's going to come off the rails. And when it does, it's really going to come off the rails. And we're going to pay a big price for it. So, to the Republicans and Democrats in Congress, do your job. Compromise. And personally, I love my solution. Kick this can down the road 1 year and let America decide. And whatever the voters decide, whether we want to extend Obamacare, we want to repeal Obamacare, whatever the voters decide, as a citizen, I may not like it, but I'll support it and I'll respect it. And right now, I can't respect a couple hundred old guys and gals in Congress taking food out of the mouths of children and seniors. And no, I'm not running for anything else. I'm happy being mayor.
Oh, I'd like for you to run
So
against someone.
it's not a stump speech. It's it's a speech from someone who is honored to serve as mayor. I live a blessed life. I'm accomplished. I don't have an axe to grind, but I don't like seeing children and seniors suffer.
Yeah.
Not on my watch.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks.
Well, on
Thom,
that
for-
cheery note,
I know. We'll have to have you come in sometime in the future.
well, hey, we've got a lot going on. I mean, we've got round 2 of the CDBG DR grants. We're going to be submitting. I was talking to Nicholas today. I'd really like to submit something for 143, the Newberry's building.
Yep.
Steve McKenzie, you rock. I mean, Steve, honest to God, Michael, when he first approached me and said, I'm going to do this, this is the charge, this is the challenge, honest to God, I'm like, you're going to raise $400,000 to purchase that building? And I was like, all right, way to go, Steve, you're the man. But secretly, I was like, dude, this ain't
I
never
was there
gonna
too.
happen.
I didn't think it was going to happen.
I'll be
honestly
the
didn't
first
think
to
so.
admit it and the first to say, Steve McKenzie,
Yep.
thank you.
did.
Thank you. So I'd like to submit a second round grant to demolish that building, to get that building down on the ground. I think the brownfield stuff, there's state funding out there, so I think we can take care of the brownfield stuff. But yeah, I'd really like to see that building down, gone, and see it turned into a park similar to what we did back when you were on the council and participating back what we did before we built City Place. So I think we can make, I think in that location, I love that location, and I think we can make lightning strike again.
Let's hope.
Yeah,
And
so
you'll have
we'll
to
have a
come-
lot to talk about. We're, like I said, City, we are functioning, we are running on all cylinders. We really are. We have such a great team and great people. So people like you, lobbying for us in the legislature. Michael, you really did, for a freshman representative, you really did a great job. Thank you, thank you. Both of you and Teddy.
No, thank you.
And with that, love you, Barry.
We'll see everyone later. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Thom, for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Liam, thank you for coming in as always.
We'll see you next week.
Didn't get a damn word in edgewise, but
So next week I do have school board, so
Oh.
we'll have to modify the times. So just be watching the 802 Scoop to find out when those changes. Thank you again for coming, Thom, and thank everyone for watching the Barry Beat podcast right here on Main Street, Barre, Vermont, inside Scoop Studios. Have a great evening, folks.